From Rich Alvarez in Northern California, this is Video Game Fights. And now your host, Rich Alvarez.
Hello and welcome to Video Game Fights. I'm Rich Alvarez. Today we have a very special theme. It is Wasteland. And this video is actually going up on Saturday the 28th or something like that, which is coincidentally, not coincidentally because we picked it for this exact reason, the same weekend as Wasteland Weekend. Garrett, tell us about Wasteland Weekend.
Well, it's ironic, yeah. When you guys are viewing this video for the first time, we are going to be in Wasteland Weekend. Wasteland Weekend is set in California City, California. It is the equivalent of the largest scale Ren Fair that you've ever seen, but for the post-apocalypse. If you are curious, check out the Google for information and some mind-blowing photography of what people do and go to town for as far as like the experience that is Wasteland Weekend.
That's right. It. So as you're watching this video, we are dying in the desert. But yeah, don't think about that.
We might be dead. This might be uploaded post
series finale.
So yeah. So you guys know everybody on the panel here. We got Garrett, we got Derek, we got Alex. You guys want to say anything before we begin?
Garrett Allen, complaint department.
My neighbor got locked out of his master bedroom and asked me for an extension ladder. That's all.
And I bring the booze.
That's right, he's the booze man.
Yeah, makes you the most important person of all.
Alright, well then, you guys know the rules. There will be 5 questions with a minute and a half each to explain your answers, and then a free-for-all argument session until I deem that I've heard enough, and then of course 2 of you will move on to the speed round where you will have 20 seconds to argue a point, and then with 10-second rebuttals. Yeah. Are you guys ready to play Video Game Fights?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Then let the games begin! Alright, the question goes to Garrett first. Round 1, by the way.
Absolutely.
Question 1. What is the best zombie game? Zombie is kind of post-apocalyptic, which is, you know, vaguely wastelandly, so shut up, it counts.
This totally counts. The zombie apocalypse is the most common nomenclature for apocalypse.
The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead, that's post-apocalypse, because we like, zombies not post, but you guys are all done.
Yes, it is!
It's literally the end of the world.
How many apocalypses don't have zombies?
Wait, why are... Well, hold on. Are we all going against Rich this game?
No.
Did I miss that?
All right, Garrett, you have a minute and a half.
He's just needlessly defending himself.
I'm being stupid. All right, Garrett, you have a minute and a half. What is the best zombie game? Go!
Oh, it's The Last of Us. Oh man, is it The Last of Us? So, oh man, it's so riveting. The Last of Us is a beautiful game from start to finish. We get a lot of cool things that make The Last of Us a really powerful contender. For starters, I love the zombies. The zombie is such a tired genre that it's just been done to death in so many fashions. So I love the fact that they brought cordyceps and like the idea of like the fungal zombies into the fray in a meaningful way, which is relevant with our current understanding of biology and more, which is something I'll get into a lot more in a later question. As far as its functionality as a post-apocalypse game, love the fact that it's set in such a fresh disaster setting. Love that it's you know, the wounds that kind of brought about the end of the world suddenly are still so fresh, and society is still present in the very fringes of an idea. Also, literally the saddest beginning in any video game ever. The saddest first 30 minutes of a video game that you will ever play, for sure, hands down. If you disagree with me, fight me. Holy shit, there's not a dry eye in the room when that beginning drops. I don't want to talk about it too much in case you haven't played it.
Alert.
Look it up, jeez. So that, you know, really solid beginning, believable, cool biological twist that presents a very different but still similar zombie nomenclature with a really solid storyline that is set with scarcity and high damage potential as a centerpiece is really good. I love the idea that you spend all day finding 6 bullets and that kills people.
Wow, you used all your time there.
I know, I feel strongly about this one.
Alright, the question then goes to Derek. You have a minute and a half. What is the best zombie game? Go!
What do you want, Derek? It's Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 I have put almost as many hours into as I have Civilization 5, which for anybody who's ever played Civilization is a good indication on how good that game is. Left 4 Dead 2 is a fantastic multiplayer game. It's probably the only one to truly take the post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland survival genre and make it friendly for co-op and multiplayer. It has a very clean storyline. You get invested into the characters, trying to get them from checkpoint to checkpoint. It has really created an environment that makes you have to get to that next realm. Now, the cool thing about this game, why it makes it the best, is because you can play at any level. You can play it very easy, you can play it medium, you can play it extremely difficult, where you're sitting there constantly dying and having to shoot hundreds and hundreds of zombies somewhere in the face. Now, the thing about Left 4 Dead 2 that probably I will concede to Garrett is it doesn't create that kind of long, drawn-out story. But if you're looking for something that really represents what the core of the Wasteland is going to be fighting the zombies. And that's what Left 4 Dead 2 does.
The question...
Don't you make my arguments for me.
The question goes to Alex next. You have a minute and a half, sir. What is the best zombie game? Go.
I spent a lot of time looking into this one, and you gotta go old for this one because there is no zombie genre, especially when you start looking into the PC consoles and all that, than the Killing Floor. It's kind of the granddaddy of them all. It's the game that kind of started that interest in zombies that then spawned Left 4 Dead and then Last of Us. And I think what really brings this game up is the fact that at its time it was really innovative in creating that genre for a game. And secondly, some measure of how good this game is can be taken by the fact that even almost 15 years after its release, 10, 15 years after its release, that game is still alive and thriving and has created such a wide and deep community that it has mods that keep the game going longer than, Last of Us, great game. It's going to be burnt out in 3 years. Left 4 Dead, great game, but it doesn't allow that option and ability to kind of create and mod as easily as the, albeit simple, source engine that drives Killing Floor. So I think a game that is around that long after it was released, and is still that successful, deserves to be the best. And everyone loves the meme of Dosh.
All right, you guys had some very good answers. Last of Us is very
This will be a good. This is gonna be an impassioned one right out the gate. So here we go.
So yeah, I'm hearing like science, and then the multiplayer dynamic in Left 4 Dead, and then of course the innovativeness of the Killing Floor. So you guys have it. Go ahead and get at it for free for all.
No, okay. So one sec. But before we actually get into fighting, I feel like we always have this thing that comes up where like one person is arguing a classic game. And it, like, argues against sort of, like... And then we have to jump into that nomenclature of, like, how do you lens a classic game that was innovative but can't compete with normal technology as influential in its own right? I don't know. I always trip over that hurdle. Anyway, continue. You were going to interrupt me?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
You're looking at him a little tired.
Don't make his argument.
You shut up!
No, knock that straight off. No, you said this game is the saddest game.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. Have you ever watched the intro to Dead Island? Now, the game was terrible.
Yes.
But that intro...
Oh, whoa. The trailer?
Intro
yeah, but you were not playing
fantastic.
For that.
It was in the game, and that's what counts.
That
boom
is not true. And even
Alex,
I would still rank it. I would still rank Last of Us as sadder, as more sad.
If it wasn't for the success,
If
it wasn't for the success of Killing Floor, there wouldn't be a zombie action shooter.
Yes.
Left 4 Dead would still.
Yes, there would have been.
Zombies
Zombies were picking up outside of.
They came after
involved.
in a video game environment. Zombies came right after Doom. Killing Floor is basically Unreal Tournament and Doom mushed together, which is cool, but not in itself something that's revolutionary.
Killing Floor is for you.
Really.
Is there for you on that drunk 2 a.m. Saturday night where you've lost all control and you're just like, I need something to play. And
I'm gonna make some enemies right now, but it's actually not that good of a shooter.
I didn't enjoy it.
It's intense. It's cool. It's like it's sort of thing, but like it's kind of really simplistic.
There's a classic. I mean, that was released early 2000s.
I know, but like
it doesn't.
How many?
I think it was really button mashing.
I thought it was really
water.
Quake.
Counter-Strike, anything.
Yeah.
How many of them are zombies? Therefore, I still think that deserves...
Quake, arguably. Yeah. Tech zombies, tech alien zombies.
Yes.
They were only more like science abomination than true zombie.
That sounds like a semantics argument. In fact, I feel like Quake would have been a great answer for this question.
I'm done bashing Alex for a minute.
Okay, let's fight me.
Last of Us... I get is a good story, but it doesn't make it a good zombie game. It's
Absolutely
not
makes it a good zombie game.
It's not a good... I would argue it's not a good Wasteland post-apocalyptic game as much as it is like the father-daughter struggle. Like you could say
set in the zombie wasteland.
You could say that's a good like High School Musical.
You could take
more
that
than more than you could say
that
that
story is real.
As you could
But
say,
you could
like,
put
okay,
it's a
zombie game.
The zombie apocalypse is simply a backdrop to that fantastic story.
It's an ever-present struggle. Every single problem that they face is related to
replace the zombies with literally any other strife. Famine, war.
Yeah, war. You could do riots.
Any other type of apocalypse.
Yeah. But that doesn't make for an apocalypse game. By the same lens, Left 4 Dead is an amazing game. But
it's entirely zombie based.
No,
there's nothing else that gives you that horde feeling.
If it were Left 4 Xenomorphs or Left 4 Jurassic Park, and you were like escaping Jurassic Park shooting zombies,
you couldn't do that.
It would be good for exactly. That's a good idea, by the way.
Yeah,
it would be exactly. It would still be a great game because it was a really simplistic, awesome asymmetric multiplayer. Really, the only one that succeeded.
Yes.
But the zombies were just a skin that succeeded that model.
No, zombies were the reason that succeeded.
If we had been fighting raptors, it would have worked just as well.
No, because you can't have 700 raptors come at you.
You totally can.
Only if Chris Pratt's there.
Yes.
Semantics,
Yes,
All right.
I mean, you literally
brought us here.
You literally asked us to fight semantics.
You literally asked for this.
Anyways, here's
it's hard to argue against.
Anyway,
games
yeah,
that
render
kind
so
of
we can
enjoy.
move on.
Oh my
Because
God,
otherwise,
right?
we need to get past this first question.
You guys, like, I mean, I have so much to say, but I'll just summarize it by this. Garrett wins the first round!
Oh! Oh! Okay.
Look at that cute.
Alright, moving on to round 2.
Look how much of it there is.
Fear the beard.
Look at this.
You got the food. I was gonna
Okay,
get it.
well now it's too much.
I think there's some lunch left over.
You know, I will
It's
say...
called a flavor saver.
I will say
If
you
we're
guys
talking
all gave
semantics.
great answers, but Garrett gave the most honest opinions on why his game worked as a great game, in that it doesn't matter if the focus is in it, it's in the world, and it was a great game that took place in the world. It's fine. It's fine. It was
It's
still
fine. It's fine.
Fine, anyways.
It's fine.
Is it fine?
Is it? I don't know.
Is it fine?
All right.
Is it?
We're really into round 2 now. Okay.
Yes.
So the question goes to Derek first. You have a minute and a half. Pitch Fallout 5. Go.
Boom. Fallout 5. We've kind of done it to death. The wasteland as it already is. You could always come up with a different story, make a Fallout Kansas. You could have a Fallout Canada. You could have a Fallout Europe. I get that. That's cute. Now, what we need to do at this point is watch the world recover, because as we saw leading up to that point, everything has been a power struggle. Everything we've witnessed up to this point in the Fallout world has been a power struggle. You've had the Enclave, you have the Institute, you have the NCR, you have the Brotherhood. Everybody's trying to get a sense and a foothold in what the new world's going to be. I recommend fast forwarding the timeline on the Fallout universe to about a 500 to 1,000 years forward, presuming there's some semblance of like 3 or 4 major governments forming, and allowing us to get back into the political conflict that occurred before Fallout. Now, I'm not talking a prequel. We're not doing anything prequel related. That's too easy. We're talking about a intense, in-depth game on what the world becomes after a nuclear fallout. Where do you go from here? Everybody's just trying to survive. When you get those creature comforts back, what happens? That's where we're playing. So I would recommend setting it in... I've got 15 seconds. I would recommend sending it in like downtown Los Angeles or something like that. That really lets you explore.
2750 would probably be about 500 years.
So,
Okay.
there we go.
Excellent. World
Solid.
recovery in LA. All right, Alex, you have a minute and a half, and go.
Just because time is easy doesn't mean you can't make a great game. What Fallout needs to go with for Fallout 5 is Fallout 5 Countdown to Doomsday. It needs to be the precursor to the bombs falling. From where the boots are on the ground in Alaska to taking the fight to China to the very moment the missiles are fired and Fallout begins.
China.
I think...
Sorry, continue.
I think the strength of this game, of Fallout Count to Doomsday, comes from the fact that you get to experience those final seconds from disaster, in that since it's 1950s, bumped up 200 years, a lot of that pseudoscience based around radiation is taken to fruition. Like, governments start implementing radioactive soldiers that are the precursors to the ghouls we know from the game. You get to test and use those initial power armor suits that are literally nothing more than prototypes. And in a final moment, you are not the deciding factor, but you get the illusion that you are about to stop what will later become Armageddon for the world, thus taking you from the shores of Alaska to China, and ultimately dooming the world to the games you've played before and what I'm sure will come after.
Okay. Cool. All right. Garrett, you have a minute and a half. Go.
Sounds good. I love that we're all kind of on the same vein here, and I'm actually shooting the exact middle. Not we need to talk, kind of similar to Alex, but also similar to Derek in the idea. I want to see a rewind. Kind of piggybacking off of Alex's point, we hear so much, obviously the entirety of Fallout, and we hear so much about the bombs, the drop, the nuclear apocalypse. So let's take that idea and copulate with what we learned about Fallout 4. Fallout 4 introduced, sometime after release, survival mode, and survival mode was obviously a big a favorite amongst the community, because we can see this just based on the fact if you take one look at the most downloaded mods and you take one look at kind of like where the community is kind of steering their custom content, you really see that a lot of it is aesthetic, and then once you get down to aesthetic, the other parts of it are about creating a more immersive survival experience. I think that's really indicative of what the Fallout fans are looking for. So I want Fallout Year 1, that's kind of my pitch, which is the bombs have immediately fallen. The firestorm that is nuclear prolifergy is still consuming the world. And so as a result, we don't have a game set nearly around like the monsters and the politics, but just the raw capacity to survive a world that really, really is ravaged by a nuclear fire. Very few games are set in an active nuclear disaster, and I think that's a really unique setting that can also maintain that unique Fallout aesthetic and charm.
Excellent. That's cool. So we have Derek's, which is the recovery at the end.
Yeah,
of
like
the
way
era.
post-society.
And then Alex is the countdown to the bombs, and then Garrett, you are right after the bombs.
After the bombs.
So this is very interesting, and now you guys get to argue and bitch about it.
So, wait, clarification. You want to play as a ghoul or a game stuck in a shelter.
No, some
and
humans survived, yeah.
You want to play a foot soldier Call of Duty.
And you want to play Civ 5.
I love Civ 5.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
Your game takes place in such a theoretically peaceful time that it's literally just going to be managing government factions in a recovered...
Holly. Sorry, continue.
Recovered country.
Pup.
Garrett, I think, has a really good idea in concept, granted, but I feel like the immersion seems like that strain of realism that Fallout creates in Fallout 4 around that survival aesthetic is lost in a world where literally everything is on fire. Like, I don't think there's a believable strain of logic.
Doggo got a gun. Doggo's got a gun. Doggo's got a gun.
No, I think so.
Whoa, that's Fallout 4.
No, I understand. I understand what you're trying to say, but I think part of the problem is we're talking about what the next Fallout 5 should be. The next Fallout 5, I don't like your premise. I just don't like your premise.
I know you don't.
I really don't.
I don't like it.
I like your idea as a game and whatnot. And I love post society stuff, but I really think we are. Fallout is such a wacky. Like everything, the idea that like things are like functional, like is like almost counterintuitive to the setting itself. Like everything has to be almost a little bit too loose.
Be wrong. So everything has to be like 2 steps from disaster.
Well,
right.
But have you? In your version of the game, sorry, it just blows my mind. In your version of the game...
He's so upset.
Yeah, I'm actually upset. In your version of the game, you would literally only have to play a ghoul or somebody in the shelter, because the way the canon goes in Fallout is current is the whole world erupts in one giant flash. There's really nothing left. There is no surviving.
He makes a really good point in that Fallout has based its ability. It's like you can choose to be chaos and destruction and everything's gone to hell, or you can be like the universal handyman trying to put the world back together with duct tape.
So you've told me that this is a bad idea, but like, is it the idea that like you're playing?
What direction? Does
every
the game
single
follow?
You can't defend something with is it?
Is it politics? What? See, she's telling you fuck off too.
Yeah, I guess she is.
But no, I was gonna say like, we always hear about how disastrous and how interesting and how muddy and dirty, the vault experiments were, and how to survive through that would just be awful, and how like the prehistory of the ghouls was super interesting and things like that. Why can't we base a game around
But that's not a Fallout 5. What we're talking about here is
That's
a
like
Fallout
Pokemon
5.
Snap immediately after the bombs drop.
Yeah,
You're just what you're suggesting.
I think you just like glued two concepts together.
No,
you're
pitching
suggesting
is
something
like
ludicrous.
what you're pitching is a great Last of Us arc. In that
This is such a contrast to the all girls episode.
You're witnessing
The girls episode was so like, oh yes, well that was very good. Anyway, it sounds like this. Don't you not feel?
You're
the
You're
scene was nice. And I'm
You're
like,
wrong.
and he's like,
You're wrong.
and you're like, and Rich is like, and I'm like,
No, so back to the arguments. It really comes.
Meanwhile, back to the ranch.
No, I seriously have a problem with as far as Fallout in your idea. I like your idea,
Give me
but
some of that.
you can't Fallout your idea. That doesn't happen. Yours, I could kind of see, but we have way too many of that. That is every shooter known to man. You can't Fallout that. What I'm arguing is the next Fallout game is the improvement, not creating.
I would
a new
argue.
game.
I would argue if I have to argue against both of you, and I would say I find his game far more plausible than yours.
Not in Fallout. Not in
Oh, yeah.
Fallout realm. If you have
Fallout is an aesthetic.
if you have
That maintains the aesthetic. Oh, wait a minute.
That's the end of argument session.
okay.
All right, wow, this is a very interesting round. First of all, Derek, the entire time that you were explaining your game, I wrote down like RPG RTS world builder ? It just seemed like
It could be all
I
of
think Alex said it. Like I was imagining Civilization because
world.
that's the only way that I was like, this is not a Fallout game. Certainly, it could be a Fallout spin-off, but
it'd be Bioshock.
it just doesn't sound like
It would
would
end up
be.
being Bioshocky.
Remember, it's like you're pitching Fallout 5. It has to still, have, that format of
Fit
Fallout.
in the box.
And I feel
Fallout
like
has already ventured into
that would-
like the city building archetype with
yeah,
Fallout
yeah,
Shelter.
it has. But again, that's a spin-off. Because and we're talking
Wait,
about
fuck
Fallout
you, I'm
5.
not supposed to talk to me.
So
buddy.
it just felt like it was something that wasn't quite what I expected in Fallout 5, and I think that Alex and Garrett made those points. Alex, your prequel idea
You
is-
were too controversial.
First of all, that's a game I would really, really like to play, but it seemed like since it's kind of like a linear story that it's going to a place that I kept thinking shooter or like maybe a Call of Duty style Fallout. Again, it's a great spinoff. Garrett's game, however, it starts after the bombs, but then you're in the middle of this sandbox game, which is what Fallout is. And that just seemed the most Fallout to me. And during your arguments, I didn't hear anything that really shot down Garrett's idea of being the best Fallout game in the Fallout
Derek
format.
was enraged by it.
He was pissed
It would
off.
be terrible. That game would be
And
terrible.
I'm not.
It's
I
already in
wasn't-
development.
And I have to say, I'm not
Not for Fallout
arguing.
5.
I'm the judge.
It's gotta
but
be something else.
I just want to point out
Fallout
that
4 total
dude,
overhaul.
tons of people survived in
Mod.
the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Tons of people survived in other areas of the United States. The whole thing was blasted, but there were still areas where people survived.
It would mine would have to be
colonies-
set somewhere very rural.
Yeah, it would have to be-
I was thinking, I didn't really bring it up in the argument, but like Rocky Mountains, I think
yeah.
would be kind of cool.
Panama. Who bombs Panama?
That being said,
Meanwhile, in Guam,
you guys will all hate me, but
Extra canal,
But,
super canal.
Garrett wins the second round. 2 points for Garrett.
Man, I would have given that one to Alex.
10 points to Garrett.
that Garrett participates in any more video game fights.
if there's a championship belt, Garrett's got his name on it like in 12 different places.
Yep.
What's the blue angel in Mario Kart?
He does it well.
I lose a lot. I'm
um,
just and I win a
Derek,
lot.
Derek,
I'm just
yeah.
here a lot.
I love you.
No.
I would really play that game.
I
But it's just not Fallout 5.
Don't lie to me. Don't you lie to me.
I actually liked Alex's. I thought Alex.
No,
was
I
really
would.
driving.
I would play the shit out of Alex.
I would actually play the crap out of it.
but it just wasn't Fallout 5.
I would take
Granted.
I would take the Fallout 4 shooter like concept and put it in his.
Yeah.
Like have that style of shooting because that they kind of they really refine that and make that like a multiplayer like shoot. Oh,
I mean, they made
Fallout Arena.
I'm still waiting for Bethesda to release a great game like Skyrim and Fallout, but with the ability like Minecraft to hop into other people's worlds.
Tell you what,
Yeah, that's
so
coming.
far in the future,
Guess what?
all of humanity has died off, and it's just the robots, and it's called Game of Drones.
Guess what?
Hey.
Round 3.
8-bit Game of Thrones
We're
theme.
moving on.
you set up that whole thing for that pun, didn't you?
All right.
Yeah.
Question 3.
What?
Most believable apocalypse. We start with Alex this round. Alex, what is the most believable apocalypse? Start.
Honestly, in this day and age, I think the most believable apocalypse is one where the world doesn't, in like a Fallout sense, immediately just go to hell. So I think, I'm sorry, it's less exciting. I think the most believable kind of apocalypse to base off of is the game Brink. Really underrated.
Highly underrated.
Highly underrated.
So underrated.
Fun game. But it's centered around this idea that in this almost Noah's Ark style flooding of the oceans, society's most wealthy elite have escaped onto a man-made island known as the Ark. And as the world continued to deteriorate, and the ghettos came to the Ark, they developed this two-class society of basically the refugees and the super elites living in the White Castle, essentially, just living in just this utopia on the hill. And it's this game that pits the struggle of those who would live as refugees against those who are completely jaded and oblivious to their struggles because they think, well, I had the money before it all went down, therefore I deserve to retain my place at the top. And the clashes between it literally is just this dystopian disconnect between those who have nothing, those who have everything, cram them on a white island build of ramshackle favelas and skyscrapers, and let them go.
Excellent game, excellent
I'm just feeding
argument.
her my hand, hoping she enjoys
Garrett?
my offering.
Yeah,
Question
right?
goes to you. What is the most believable
take my
apocalypse? Go.
Oh, take a wild guess. We're going back to The Last of Us. So,
Back to the future.
I'm really interested in, and kind of terrified of, the biology behind cordyceps, because we've seen, cordyceps as a, fungal, sort of entity, really present in nature the only, propagated and observed instance of zombie-like behavior. Cordyceps, if you're not familiar, are a fungal entity that occupies a lot of the rainforests of Central America, I believe. And what they do is they have a life cycle that infects an ant. The ant then climbs to the top of a blade of grass. It's dead at this point. It climbs to the top of a blade of grass and is eaten by a deer. The deer's digestive system provides, the mechanism for creating more cordyceps. It's a life cycle that is entirely based on this organism taking over another organism's brain, literally a zombie. Enter The Last of Us, that has taken that exact biological concept that exists in finite observed science and basically makes it the zombie apocalypse. Just takes that and it's like, hey, that pathogen evolves to take over humans. Boom, done. Everything else, as far as fungal spores, as far as the zombies developing a life cycle, the multiple stages that are present in the game, all are designed to infect more people along the exact same observed mechanisms that cordyceps do. Plus, take that in the current world observations of, the issues we have with science.
Science! And that was your minute and a half. Derek, what is the most believable apocalypse? Go!
I found a doggy.
What do I do with my hands?
I found a doggy. Most believable apocalypse is Fallout 3, regarded as one of the best games of all time by everyone at this table. Followed up with one of the best
New Vegas?
additions of all time, New Vegas. Still part of Fallout 3. Fallout 3 really represents a method for you to play the game as it's meant to be in that post-apocalyptic world, how you would survive. Now, the original one's set in Washington, D.C., which can be arguably probably shrunk more than it should have been as far as the exploration and things like that goes. But as far as what you have to deal with, there are some very real-life questions. Fallout 3 has the best options as far as your choices on interaction with the world. It really presents you with the waste and the waste with you. It puts you in the shit in order for you to make those shitty decisions. You have to... right? Shit. So you end up having to make these choices that you will not make in other games. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas really represent what a post-apocalyptic game is meant to be through their storytelling. There you go. Cheers.
Excellent. And now you will fight to the death.
I wasn't listening because I lost a finger. What was your game?
Oh, my game was
Last
Last
of
of Us again.
Oh,
You might have tuned out. It was just a read.
Yeah, right. But to be said, you know I love Fallout. I'm literally wearing a Fallout shirt. I can't hide behind it and whatnot.
Realistic.
And while I completely agree with the idea that Fallout presents fascinating,
The best
in-depth
ever
political questions as far,
made
that could
in the
all
world. Yes, I
revolve
agree.
around an
The best
apocalypse.
one ever.
This is
Realistically
also
impossible.
I was gonna say this is also set in a world where like super mutants and like rad
yeah.
scorpions
Yes,
are a thing.
yes,
No, I'm sorry.
Richard,
No. Nuclear.
Have you not seen
nuclear
the guy who
apocalypse? Does
plays the
not.
Mountain of George Borgen?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not far from
Yeah, but-
super mutant. He's
But,
huge.
but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like a whole race
He's
of
still
people.
flesh
just,
and
like,
bone, and he
keep it-
just dusts in an.
And also, when you
Yes.
when you dust an environment with radiation, the scorpions don't grow. That's pure fantasy.
Exactly.
No,
there are no
it is
pools.
not
There's
pure
no.
It
fantasy.
is pure fantasy.
There's no
Things
rat
get
roaches.
tumors and they die.
No. Have
Yes.
you seen, have you seen some of the long-term effects of things like Chernobyl, where these animals and plants
There
were
are no
growing?
three-headed dogs
Yes.
and 8-foot
There's
tall
just
scorpions.
like a couple of mushrooms that have figured out how to work radiation into their biosphere.
Which
Everything else dies.
No,
Which is
Garrett
the
makes a
start
valid
of
point.
what you end up running into. Now, here's another thing.
Not in 200 years.
What type of radiation?
Maybe in
and
2000.
What type of nuclear?
If we're
what type of
following
nuclear
realism,
arms were
we're
used
using-
in Fallout? See, now that's the thing. We're assuming it was all uranium based because
Most likely.
Plutonium's different.
There are multiple different types of radiation, and lots of them have yet to be discussed in the realm of like human interaction and body modification.
All of them release subatomic particles, however, all of which break down cellular walls, all of which
Which
are not conducive
kill
to a
organic
geosphere
tissue.
or rapid
It
evolution.
tends to cause damage, but when you're spreading that over the course of 7 billion samples,
And then add to
you're
the fact that those people
bound
need
to
to
have
survive
a few that end up.
by
Yes.
food sources
Over
that don't
like-
survive.
Over
Yes.
like 20,000 years, not 200.
And then freeze that
you
for a
can have
second.
you can have flash evolution through.
We're
those
ganging up
types
on
of-
Derek, but I need to lay into
Okay,
your,
you know what?
your
Yeah,
argument.
that's my whole
I need to
argument
lay
there.
into your
All right, bring it
argument.
on, bring it on.
Okay,
Let's go, Ginge.
I know that study of yours with the parasite that kills and zombifies an ant. And
It's not a study; it's a factual
okay,
observation.
Factual, thank you. It stops at there though. Though they keep themselves alive in the stomach of deers when they're consumed as these ants on leaves. There is no logical straight.
Are you saying parasites don't work? Then how do you explain my ex-girlfriend?
Derek's the wrong guy. Derek wins. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally gonna try to fuck you up. Anyway, let's go.
No, there's a strain of logic in which I don't see the jump from insects to mammals, and there's no evidence,
They might already be infecting rabbits.
but there's no hard evidence.
That's all I gotta
There's
say.
no hard evidence to substantiate that, number one. And number two, even if it did make the jump to mammals, there's no further information out there that isn't provable that this is preventable through human medicine and technology.
Don't tease it. Don't tease
Alex, why is your game just overall more believable than the other two?
it. I don't remember.
Because it's
Brink.
right now. I mean, realistically, if you played out what happened right now, throw in a Noah's flood, and shrink the available landmass and resources to just
It is literally based on climate
fractions
change.
of what it is today.
So you mean Waterworld?
Waterworld, Brink,
That movie's not as bad.
some
People say it
aspects
is.
of
I like
2012. I'm sure
Waterworld's dope,
2012
fight
they
me.
blew it out. John Cusack would be fighting
Alright,
people for
that's
the
it.
reactor.
Okay, here's where I'm at, you guys. Once again, everybody always comes with fantastic answers, but here's where I'm at. So
you seem a little over it tonight.
I'm sick of it already.
Garrett, I think he's just a little over us.
Yeah.
We are being a little more aggressive.
no, you guys are great. You guys are great.
Cheers. Cheers, bitch.
Woo! So yeah, like
Yes.
you get The Last of Us is rooted in a lot of great scientific fact, but it does have to make a kind of a jump to get there. And I didn't hear enough from you, Garrett, in the arguments to defend how actual plausible that is.
I defended science for a minute and a half.
Science! Science! I love Fallout more than anything, but oh man.
Man, we kind of ganged up on Derek.
We kind of did.
And I held my own, thank you very much.
Here's where I'm at. I think the way that Alex presented Brink and the way that he defended Brink, it just sounds like it's a human story about survival, and that just sounds more believable to me than the other two. Alex wins round 3.
Which is funny because it's like not a story about anything considering it's a multiplayer game. That being said, Alex should have won that round. Yeah. Brink is far and away the most believable Apocalypse. As soon as I saw his answer on the rap sheet, I was like,
damn it!
That's objectively the correct question.
I was busy yesterday. I don't even know what Brink is. I'm sorry.
But like I said,
I never watched.
It's literally just like runaway global warming.
Look at it.
Exactly.
It's neat aesthetic.
It's a fun game that is terribly short because the entire campaign. It suffers from Titanfall 1 syndrome in that the campaign is the multiplayer with bots and NPCs and real people.
Great parkour.
The round is over though.
I learned something.
So we'll move on to round 4. All right. Question number 4. Pitch Resident Evil 8. It's another pitch question.
Okay.
And I thought this one was really good because I personally was disappointed by Resident Evil 7.
Correct.
It was not a Resident Evil game at all.
Yeah, Jesus.
Anyways, let's get into it. So Garrett, pitch Resident Evil 8. You have a minute and a half. Go.
Anyway, so,
and that's time.
Resident Evil is a weird series, and one that admittedly I don't have a ton of experience with, but anybody can kind of see where they're at, kind of, creatively right now. Resident Evil has a few strong storylines that are very divergent and very all over the place that really just need to kind of be washed up, and we need to go back to something totally different. I'm pitching to you today Resident Evil Frontier, a bit of an origin story, something that really gets into the origin of the kind of the mega corporations and the secret societies that propagate the T-virus and a lot of these other things, later on, Umbrella Corp and all this sort of thing. I would argue these corporations have root in deep early America. So we're going to talk about something on the frontier, something where we can bring mythology a little bit, or not just, mythology, but the soft perception that magic is still real, if only just because of the existence of willful human ignorance, in a time when people were vulnerable to such discussions. I want to bring Native Americans, I want to bring frontier, and I want to bring gunpowder level technology into the Resident Evil world, and I want it to be presented as this very witchcraft, as this very origin-based story where we can just barely see the functions and the beginnings of the Resident Evil story, but present it through a world where people still believed and were very, very superstitious and rooted in the existence that monsters were real.
Wow. That was a minute and a half exactly.
You're welcome.
What?
All right. Derek, Resident Evil 8, go.
I think we're done.
Everyone.
I'm sorry, not with the argument. I meant with Resident Evil. We've gotten to a point where Capcom has taken that game so far off the rails with the movies. And
you can't see the rails anymore.
No, you can't. You're so far off.
Wait, there was a movie?
There's many movies. Resident Evil has a whole series of movies. Thank you very much. No, I really think I'm taking a twist on this one. I'm fighting the man. I really don't think they should continue with their current plot line of Resident Evil 8. I would argue that Garrett.
Maybe during the show.
I would argue that Garrett is probably the closest that we can do to like a good movie is bring it back to that Resident Evil 4 realm. Resident Evil 4 was probably the last one that was any good, and arguably their best one. I personally really enjoyed the mechanics on it.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. But I would say that they have taken it to 5, 6, 7. And now they're gonna make another one. I'm like, dude, come on. At this point, they've taken the story and they've lost their roots. Their roots have always been magical, kind of this weird realm of like, this is almost not the end of the world. This is like something else. This is an invasion. It's upsetting. And I really think that they should end. My argument is that they should stop where they had at the chance, which was Resident Evil 4, and focus their manpower on something better. I really think Resident Evil's dead.
No pun intended.
Is undead.
Alex, actually,
minute and a half.
Kind of a tired zombie.
Resident Evil 8, go.
Sorry, fanboys.
Albeit cliched, I think Resident Evil has represented their ability to just beat a cliche to death. They need to come back with what they've captured in Lightning in a Bottle with Resident Evil 4, with the nuances that the later games then created, that succeeded in my opinion. Resident Evil 4 created gameplay and tactics and a style play that was hugely successful to the community at large. 5 and 6 were kind of meh, but 7 introduced that almost amnesia level of fear, that terror, that true setting that caused players to just be worried about the game. Now, it kind of gave us a Last of Us aspect of it, but I feel like the best way to make Resident Evil 8 a success is to kind of make this Frankenstein monster of gameplay and hope it works, because that's literally what they've been doing for 3 games, so they need to recreate the gameplay with less reliance on co-op that 5 and 6 created, with just like, let's just escort this one person around the entire map, with the fear that 7 created, and then all that's left to do is select a suitable backdrop to this all, which I think, given how games are gearing towards this time, this batch of releases needs to be a Russian base, a Russian nuclear sub-base that's gone awry, and it needs to be the return of like fringe Umbrella Corp members bringing the company back to life.
Okay, very interesting. All right, I'm hearing a lot of different answers here.
Very diverse as usual.
Jeez. You know,
Dramatic rehash.
before we get into these
Plausible
arguments,
sequel. Kill it.
Kill it,
Kill it with
my
fire.
personal
kill
opinion
it dead.
is that they've just gone so off the rails that I would really just like to see a remake of Resident Evil 2 with Resident Evil 4's gameplay.
Oh,
that
please.
would be.
Oh my god.
That would be
Rich wins!
But having said that, we're arguing 8, so arguments.
No, okay, so here's the hardest part with all of this is how do you recover? Now, I know you guys are trying to pitch Resident Evil 8 because you saw the question and you're like,
We
hey.
were answering the question.
Yeah, you guys are answering the question.
But you did kind of take it off the rails.
I'm
Which is very in the spirit of Resident Evil.
Oh, I'm very aware I did that because
I bet you weren't expecting us to kill it.
for a distinct reason. How do you take people like me and Rich who really enjoy the mechanics of 4 and really enjoyed the story of 2 and expect them to make an 8?
Do what
can't.
Infinity Ward did.
They have
release
taken
a terrible game and tag a remastered version onto it.
they have
People
taken,
will buy
Yeah, because that worked.
They have taken.
It did.
They have
Kinda.
taken that game so far
Boom.
beyond. They've taken that game so far beyond what is reasonable at this point that you cannot recover.
It's
And
a
I would
zombie
argue-
apocalypse
I would argue
manufactured by man.
your
What
wish-
thread of realism is left to be had?
I would love for Garrett and Rich to actually have that happen, but to actually have a Resident Evil 8 and have the title 8 written on the front of that cover be a good game would not happen. And if they cut their losses now, I think Resident Evil as a whole is a franchise in our memories and our thoughts and our prayers.
Memories,
remain.
memories,
I know, and I know you want it to
nostalgia,
die,
and gameplay
but
are
here's the
crucial.
thing.
If they make money,
Franchises-
they'll do it.
I know, I was going to say,
But it's
franchises don't die. Especially Capcom's franchise.
My
gonna
God,
die.
look at Sonic.
No. They're gonna keep. They're gonna put this thing on life support as long as it is. So, in the spirit of answering the question,
Yes.
I want to see what we're gonna do, and I think obviously Resident Evil deals so much, obviously in a modern setting, which is cool. But like, it's got these monsters and whatnot. So why just pull it back to a time where superstition was a thing, and why not just allow the series to thrive and be a thing?
Because-
You said yours
no.
was scary, right?
Yes.
Resident. You
It's
like
like
7
an
because it was
Amnesia,
scary.
Slenderman.
Maybe it was scary mechanically. Resident Evil 7 was terrible.
Mechanically, yes. That's why I kind of
I did not
prefaced that
enjoy
by
it.
saying
It's a good suspense game.
Now
It succeeded in building suspense.
To Garrett's point, taking it back
And
to
VR.
Yeah.
to taking it back to that
boring.
threshold of gunpowder technology. Resident Evil's later games have really beat a dead horse with the whole good luck finding bullets. Half the time they don't work. Now let's make the guns 30 seconds to reload. Maybe best case scenario, find some arrows, and then let's keep the thread of realism alive by saying there's pseudoscience, magic, and witchcraft.
So how do
Well,
you
there's not,
colonial
but people
America.
believe there is.
Yes,
Because it's
But
colonial
how
America.
How do you expect anyone after these last few games to come back to Resident Evil 8 and like give it a chance? Even if it ends up being
It's
this
the diehard fans.
Even if it ends
If
up
it
being
was
this,
wildly different and separated itself by leagues.
but it can't be. The way Capcom has moved as a company, it won't be. Resident Evil 8.
So why
needs
does
to
I'm
is
not
their next
pitching
move
what
anyway?
Capcom will do. I'm pitching what they should do. That was the question.
I understand what they should do, but should do and will do are just...
Will do wasn't the question.
Will do is make the game.
we'll do is let it die.
It'll die on its own in like the mid-teens.
It's close.
It's becoming a circular argument now. Oh, Jesus. Hey, Holly, Jackie, were either of you guys paying attention over here?
No.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, man.
And sign language just means forget all.
Wait, which finger?
So,
Middle finger.
Oh, nice.
Forget.
Sorry, I'm already a fan.
Forget and then boom.
And then do I, wait, so do I do it this way?
Here.
As-
and then
Either way.
As implied that I
And you
forgot
push it
all of it.
across And then finger it.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
okay.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope, babe. Thank you for your
That's
lesson.
totally my thing.
So, Alex, you know, I just think that as far as a Resident Evil game goes, yours was interesting, but I didn't really feel like it was. I mean, well, what is Resident Evil anymore, right?
Yeah.
The person
You came up with the questions.
I didn't think that
Domino's and
in this argument session, I didn't think that you held your own necessarily. At least you argued against them, but there wasn't enough defense on your own.
I was trying to say I crushed you.
It kind of just sounded like.
To undeath.
What, that being said, if they did make another Resident Evil,
I love you, Alex, but you didn't win round 4. Is what I'm trying to say.
There it is.
Now, out of these two guys, who do you think had it?
The guy who said, F it, let's not do anything. Or the guy that at least pitched a game.
I said F it, don't do it.
Yeah, so which one do you think?
there's bravery in both. It's really
Agreed. I'm gonna go with guy who came up with concept.
God, Derek needs a fucking point.
I'm good,
oh,
Brett.
man.
Dude, I come here because I like the show. I'm not here because I get points, Brett.
I
come here-
appreciate
Liquor.
I come here to argue.
Here's what I'm gonna say,
Argue
Derek.
well, there's free booze.
Here's what I say.
Come on.
I love you, and I agree with you so
It needs to
much.
freaking die, but I didn't answer the question. you can give it to him.
I think you knew.
You
You did something very important here, Derek. Because
Yes,
I think
yes,
you
I did.
knew you weren't going to win this.
You
round.
gave me
I'm
ele-
well aware.
I think you threw this round on purpose to
Yes.
stand up for what you believe in.
Yes,
and I want you
I'm
to know
done.
that you've won my respect.
He
for
gave
that.
the eloquent cup.
All right.
yeah.
So Derek,
This just means you win the next round, and we
The
go
equivalent,
no.
the equivalent of like this is like the equivalent of like throwing the game as a protest.
Trust me.
All right, Garrett wins his third point. I think it's safe to say that Garrett has made it into the speed.
I mathematically cannot lose at this point. No.
Not by my math.
Oh, I'm
He
sorry.
wins
You don't
in
work for the
every
government.
conceivable
Oh
way.
shit! You're right.
All right. Round 5. Here's by far my favorite question of today's video game fights.
Is it?
Pick a Wasteland faction, or more specifically, a faction from one of the Fallout games. Because
He said, yeah, he initially pitched us to it as like pick a Wasteland faction. We all picked Fallout factions.
Right,
He was
so-
like, all right, I guess the question is Fallout faction.
reiterating that, pick a Fallout faction. I guess
Spoiler alert.
goes to Derek.
No one picked Minutemen.
I have another settlement for you.
Go away, Preston!
Another question is under attack. Please answer it.
Another question is.
Don't make the game!
Oh, that was amazing.
I would be Derek in every situation.
I'm so happy.
I'm so glad that you resolved that. By the way, I have another settlement for you. All right, it's to death. Anyways,
Preston,
Derek,
stop.
you have a minute and a half.
Do I?
Pick a Wasteland. Pick a Fallout faction. Go.
Boom. NCR.
Oh!
I'm gonna start crushing fools with facts because I actually did research as opposed to what I usually do, which is show up and lie.
Yeah!
So, I gotta laugh because
79 seconds with facts.
I'm gonna even 15. There we go.
70-15.
So the NCR. The thing about the NCR is they are creating what I had originally wanted, which was the world to move forward in Fallout. So I apologize that I didn't win that point. I hope that doesn't screw me up later. The NCR.
Jesus.
The NCR.
Salty?
No, I'm okay. So the reason the NCR is so important is because they have by far the most people under their ranks. They have over 700,000 citizens within their borders. They cover by far the most area. They have the most territory. As far as a future goes, the NCR is the way. Now, the NCR has its bureaucratic issues. I understand that. I mean, so does America. And so we're at this point where the NCR is really pushing for the future. NCR is the best faction for multiple reasons. It's the closest thing we had to what we had before, which was a true democracy. It has by far the most firepower, maybe not in weaponry, but in personnel. And secondly, it is creating trade routes that allows people to operate as separate states. It's getting there. As far as the best faction goes, this is the one that's going to create the future. All others are going to be destroyed because they're too totalitarian. Boom. 129.
You did it.
Wow.
All right, Alex.
And you stopped a few times to fucking roll with the jokes.
That's like 90% of what I do.
You're a damn professional.
All right, Alex.
I've done this before.
You have a minute and a half. What's your faction of choice? Go.
I'm gonna start with a jab. His quality has a quantity all its own, but with the Brotherhood of Steel, quality has a quality all its own. And while the NCR might have superior numbers, the Brotherhood of Steel brings technology that hasn't been seen in the Wasteland or in California, or the NCR rather, since pre-war America in the Fallout universe. Therefore, I think that the Brotherhood of Steel, while admittedly...
I did so much research, I've already got like answers to his.
While admittedly racist towards those who would abuse technology, which is ironic because they do that, they also bring it in an ironclad fist that, for better or for worse, does unite a lawless Commonwealth. And once they make it to the West Coast, whatever the NCR will fall into, maybe Brother Steel West Side. Point being is I think the Brotherhood of Steel brings a package of strong leadership, strict moral guidelines, albeit jaded and awful in some characteristics. But they bring a strong sense of leadership that this, Wasteland would otherwise not have. I'm feeding you your hands. I can read that. There's strong leadership that can bring together a Commonwealth that would otherwise fall, and they have the technology and the manpower to do it in which other factions would simply lose and crumble to.
Are you a fucking
Excellent.
Oh, man. God, that fact sandwich was so shitty.
Boom. All right, Gary, you have a minute and a half.
Go. Oh, man, taking the edgelord stance. Controversial. Over here. Look at me. Win.
Dab.
Nay.
Dab. Institute. What? Who says that? Garrett does.
Dog does.
Dog does.
Yeah, right? She's down. See, she's so down.
No, she says no institute.
So,
Shake the back.
the Institute, I hate to say it because, obviously most Fallout 4 endings, really obviously end with the Institute destroyed. 3 out of 4 do. But
Are you saying
let's talk about the Institute for a second, because the Institute has a few really out-of-control powerful traits about it. For starters, the Institute, by merit of its own existence and by merit of its technology level, was objectively the most technologically advanced faction at its height. Furthermore, they were the only ones really looking into actively restoring the ecosphere, which is ultimately what needs to happen in order for any amount of population to propagate Earth again. The ecosphere needs to survive in order for humans to be able to procreate as normal again. Now, here's the problem. Synths.
Fucking synths.
But they're also the solution. The Institute has simultaneously figured out the best and worst aspect of basically humanity's survival. The synths are going to arise, they are going to become perfect, they will overthrow and destroy humanity, and our legacy is ultimately going to live on through the synths. They are the perfection of mankind.
What?
Yeah, that's how this story ends. That's how this story ends.
Sorry, it's not the question.
You're done. But Rich just literally wrote synth.
Wait. I think we all just got it. Are you a synth?
Are you a synth?
Yeah, right? Done.
Right.
Can confirm.
Can't confirm.
All of a sudden, I'm going to start talking in a mid-Atlantic accent.
You know what?
So, you know what the odds?
You guys all gave actually the perfect, I think, pretty perfect explanations on all these factions. Now, you can go into argument.
Boom! You said Brotherhood West Side, NCR's already beaten them!
You beat the Legion, not the Brotherhood.
Yes, no. Check your facts, bro.
You didn't beat them. You didn't meet the...
We pushed the Brotherhood back out. We stole their heavy armor. Guess what? We're rolling heavy NCR.
Wait, so you're telling us
bruh.
you didn't win?
Oh no, we won. We beat
Without our tech.
No, we beat the Enclave and we stole your tech.
No, you stole the Enclave's tech.
No, we stole your tech. Check your facts.
Fallout 2, Brotherhood gets slammed.
Yeah, they do get mega slammed.
Fact check.
That being said, you beat a dispatch of the Brotherhood. You did not meet their main battle force.
We did. As far as the West goes, they got nothing on us. We have two.
Still, their eastern battle force is really, really getting momentum.
We have 2 major non-nuclear power sources. You guys haven't even fathomed yet because you're still stuck in the dark ages on nuclear power. NCR.
Since when is nuclear dark ages?
The Institute uses like pure fission energy.
Okay, here's my issue. Here's my list of issues with yours, distilled down to one.
If they hadn't blown it up,
how is the best faction in amongst our choices one that results in the total annihilation of the human race, Terminator 2 status?
Yes.
It's not the annihilation; it's the evolution.
No, it's not the evolution because
humanity
they're no
ceases.
longer human.
Spoken like a true Sith.
They are built, but the final stage synths.
No, they're not human.
No,
they're inherently not human. Anything that is
they're
produced,
constructed out of biological material,
but anything that is
with
produced,
a little brain implant.
But anything that is produced from the Institute inherently is not the future. They're not human. So as far as propagating the human race,
human DNA,
the NCR has
they can reproduce with humans.
The NCR has
Westworld.
Yes. Sorry, Westworld.
I think.
Yeah. So, no, the NCR has it. The NCR has the perfect blend between power and freedom. You're asking a bunch of people, in this case, almost 1 million people. None of you guys have that.
Let me take
I don't need it.
Let me take some pot shots.
I need a few hundred smart people to come up with a solution for repairing the human genome against the wasteland.
Well, you can't do that?
Exactly. You can't repair.
They can't.
Neither can you. Because here's the thing. You can't repair a genome that can adapt to a nuclear wasteland like the people who have evolved and survived through it, and you cannot win with your faction because your faction.
You're getting too big too quickly.
No, that's why we win.
Your faction
destiny.
Your faction cannot sustain itself because
Yes, it
the simple
can.
fact of the matter
It
is
literally
your
has.
faction is
The NCR hasn't faced since yet.
It's
It
not
has
only
faced-
that
we
you
don't
cannot
need to
keep
face
a
it.
That's
congregation of that many people together
They haven't!
long
Your
term
sense-
and keep them expanding.
By the time they
Brotherhood of
expand-
Steel is the one that can keep people together, albeit through an iron fist. And I will admit that is a fallacy on a philosophical level.
Everybody loves the Brotherhood of Steel, but they're gonna get their asses kicked than they do on the reg.
By the NCR.
Hey,
No, I'm gonna say two things.
And by the Institute in one ending.
The reason is we're. Sorry.
I've actually heard enough.
He's calling it. He's calling it.
Not that this matters for the argument's sake, but yeah, every time the Brotherhood has faced the NCR, the Brotherhood has gotten their ass.
We get ready to get wrecked, son.
Have you played Fallout 2?
No.
Okay, well there you go. That's what it's all about.
This is the only question I did a substantial amount of
Institute
research.
is so far a pretty Fallout 4 exclusive branch, but whoa.
Right.
She hasn't played Fallout 2 either.
She doesn't like the Institute.
It's okay.
You know, here's the thing. Not only did Derek specify exactly why the NCR is the best for the forward of the human race, he also explained
Are you telling me Siths aren't human?
They're not.
Their railroad ending?
I kill the Institute the first chance I get.
But you allied with the railroad and you saved the Synths.
I think I've played through the game a few times. I think I've allied with everyone against the Institute. I've never allied with the Institute. The Institute, but even having said that, they both gave great arguments as to why the Institute's not a good faction for the humans, is not a good faction overall. Their ideology is flawed.
Earth survives.
It's
the biosphere survives.
You're cool, all right. You're in the speed run already. It doesn't matter. You
2
don't
points though.
Chill. You don't need.
I want to go in the speed round with 4.
You don't
be a legend. Be a legend.
You don't need.
Be a legend.
I'm still waiting for the day that somebody just wins all 5 points and there is no speed run.
You're like, get out of town.
The day I decided to do research on every question.
The Brotherhood of Steel is more badass.
Well, you do tend to steamroll questions when you
I don't know. I
research them, yes.
I do have a Brotherhood of Steel and an NCR shirt, but
I have a Brotherhood shirt.
Hey,
NCR wins.
Brotherhood of Steel's
How
got
many
some
suits of power does the
fantastic
NCR
branding.
have?
Few hundred.
They run
All
heavy.
right, we are at an interesting impasse here because that means that Garrett has 3 points, Derek has 1 point, Alex has 1 point. So that means that the first speed round question will have to go to these two gentlemen.
Okay.
For a second point, this is just Alex and Derek. Would you rather face the apocalypse in the extreme heat or the extreme cold? Wait for the bell!
Extreme cold.
Derek calls cold. He goes first with 20 seconds. Go!
You can always make yourself warmer. That's the thing. You can always find more fur, you can find more clothing, you can find more shelter. The thing about the extreme heat is you can only take off a certain layer of clothing, and then it's your bare skin on the sun. It is way harder to keep yourself cold than it is to keep yourself warm.
You have 3 seconds.
That's all I need, bruh.
Okay. Alex, 20 seconds. Heat. Go.
You can always go north. In all seriousness, when you were looking at apocalypse where the world substantially heats, you always just move to the higher longitudes where the ice turns to rainforest. Mind you,
I'm sorry, keep going.
Mind you, the middle of the world turns into a sandbox. I grant that. But you can always move north, and even if it... To the point where the heat reaches a point where the northern Antarctic poles...
I gave you a few extra seconds because I built early. All right, Derek, 10 seconds, go.
Do you know how long it would physically take a person to walk from anything that is of extreme cold or extreme heat to extreme cold? You would never make it. You would physically die. You cannot. You would take 100 years.
Your logic is based off the fact...
I haven't run the bell yet,
I'm
Alex.
sorry.
Go.
Your logic is based off the fact that this literally happens overnight and I have to react to it instantaneously, as opposed to seeing it coming and adjusting as such.
All right, Garrett.
Wow, those are two surprisingly solid answers, Richard.
My. That was pretty good. Good work.
Boom!
Oh no.
Huh.
Jackie, who wins?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
That was way too scientific for me.
Science.
From what I could make sense of, Derek.
Damn it!
But I'm sorry, because
Well,
I
wait,
don't know.
she doesn't
Alex was
decide.
throwing too much science at me.
Okay, you say Derek, Garrett.
Now both these. Oh,
That's
I need
hard.
to not talk about this for 5 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah, that's
let's
not gonna happen.
let's just go ahead and like keep this real short. Derek is correct. Ultimately, the idea humans do better in extreme cold, but only to a point. But humans do,
when
you
you're
know.
gonna die either
At
way.
the end of the day, you're gonna have to move.
Yes.
And at that, to that end, Alex is kind of correct. But then I'm arguing, you know, like which one I would choose versus which one I would like.
Who
which
had the
one
best argument?
Yeah, who had the best argument? Derek resigns on the most, you know, logical assumption, and assuming that we don't get too cold, Derek is correct. However, there's lots of instances in observed science where, you know, like if, you know, things get really, really, really warm, life would just push to the poles of a given planet, and then, you know, ecospheres would fragment, and there would be this horrendous, you know, biology issue.
Rich is like, that was his equivalent of neat.
Neat.
Who wins?
Who wins?
So Derek, you pick Derek? I pick Derek. Derek wins. 2 points for Derek.
I'm sorry.
I pick Alex.
Well, it's too late. Alex, you know the drill.
Yeah, I'm
You're
the
out,
judge.
but you get to help me pick the winners.
Winners.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna win this.
Welcome to the semifinals.
No, I'm still here.
All right, so Derek has 2 points. Garrett has 3. We're moving into the speed round. I mean, I guess I already put up the speed round markers at this point. I guess I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. All right. So, and this is the question that you love. There are 2 games in the Park and Benny GameStop.
How are you shaking,
Which
man?
do you pick? Fallout 2 or Resident Evil 2?
Fallout 2.
Ooh, I heard it just a millisecond from Garrett first.
I defer to Garrett.
Yeah. All right, so Garrett, 20 seconds. Why Fallout 2? Go.
Fallout 2 is a genre-defining epic, as far as isometric RPGs are concerned. It had a great mix of survivability, a totally unique setting for the time, and stands on its own as a classic in the genre, while also incorporating literal Monty Python jokes.
You have 5 seconds.
Monty Python jokes. Holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Okay.
Does your game have the lantern? No, I'm just kidding.
1, 2, 5,
20 seconds.
3,
Start.
3.
Wait.
You have 20 seconds.
Oh, everybody was talking.
Okay, let me
you
start.
start,
Let me
please?
start.
I was like,
Starting
oh my
over.
god.
Derek, you have 20
Don't
seconds
do that to me.
defend Resident Evil 2. Go.
Resident Evil 2 by far has the best story in the Resident Evil series. It takes everything you've wanted from the magical realm of learning that this is a true environment. To moving into what a true apocalypse game is supposed to be, Resident Evil 2 really takes you into that realm, especially for the time frame. It was a very complex story. I enjoyed it.
10 seconds, Garrett.
Yeah, as far as like the cliche and explored zombie tropes and whatnot, Resident Evil was solid, but it wasn't genre-defying. Fallout 2 was so unique, and it's literally defined the taste of every single Fallout game since.